Alright, man, peace. So I recently made a couple of videos starring Mr. Scottie Pippen, one of the top 50 all-time great NBA players and a Hall of Famer, in which he alleged that Kobe Bryant was a greater outside shooter than Michael Jordan, and that LeBron James would be considered a greater player than Michael Jordan by the end of his career because he would accumulate greater stats. Well, of course, that was met with a fair bit of controversy. Scottie Pippen's statements, that is. In the aftermath of that, he was recently stopped by paparazzi and asked to confirm his belief that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. He responded by stating that LeBron James isn't even as good as him. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
All right, moving on from that to another heated rivalry going on involving Scottie Pippen and LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, Scottie Pippen has been doing the rounds, basically giving his opinion about LeBron James and his game and his standing in NBA.
Well, last night he talked some trash. He sent a shot right to LeBron James. It's on video. But before I get to that, I want to set this thing up because a couple days ago he was on ESPN's First Take with Stephen A. Smith, and he was
and Max Kellerman. How dare you?
I love Max Kellerman. I think he's great. But he was talking about could LeBron James catch Michael Jordan and become known as the greatest NBA player of all time. And this is what Scottie Pippen said that started some controversy in the sports talk circles. Take a look.
Well, I'm going to go with Michael Jordan.
Okay.
But statistically, LeBron James is a better basketball player.
Now, this is not even the recent interview that Scottie had with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. This is old footage. And I stated in those previous two videos in which Scottie Pippen was talking about Michael Jordan that it's very, very clear to me that Scottie has a little brother, big brother relationship with Michael, and that sometimes in little brother, big brother relationships, there is that undercurrent of jealousy or maybe harboring some ill feelings from what the little brother feels he may have endured during childhood. Well, in the case of Scottie Pippen, his proverbial childhood was as a rookie with the Chicago Bulls and his early initiation period into the NBA, in which Michael Jordan kind of put him through the ringer. And I believe that Scottie still harbors some ill feelings towards Michael. And he goes out of his way to make little snippy comments about Michael to kind of needle him every now and then. Michael, to his credit, never responds because I think that Michael knows where it comes from. As I've stated, this interview right here is not even the interview where Scottie recently made the statements that he made. This is this whole separate interview. But anyway, let's hear what else Scottie has to say.
And here's why. He fills the stats up across the board, night in and night out. You're talking about a kid who can easily average a triple-double if he chooses to. I don't think Michael Jordan had that option.
So he said that, and then he said...
Look at Scottie's face. Yo, Scottie be having so much anger on his face, man. And he easily could average a triple-double if he want to. And Michael Jordan didn't have that option. And I can't stand Michael Jordan. He slept with my first girlfriend. To hell with him. I like Shannon Sharp. Me and Shannon Sharp both had our girlfriends slept with by Michael Jordan. So fuck Michael.
He said if you look at the stats, that LeBron James is closing in and could be considered better than Michael Jordan. People lost their mind about
that metric. Russell Westbrook is also better than Michael Jordan. But listen,
I agree. That just shows you how silly it is and how much people try to imply that someone's greater than Jordan based off of stats. You can't do that.
Yeah, a lot of people were very upset that Scottie, a guy who some people think was as great as he was because he played with Michael Jordan. With
Michael's coach,
and would even open the...
That's another reason why Scottie's upset. Because he really does not have his own identity. Because he's viewed as a person who pretty much just rode Michael's coattails to finals victories. And that's not the case. Scottie was a supplementary player. He was a role player on that team. And people get mad when I say role player. I explain this over and over and over again. To me, you can be a superstar role player. You can be a Hall of Fame role player. And that, to me, is what Scottie Pippen was. You know, Joe Dumars, Kevin McHale, Scottie Pippen, Manu Ginobili. Those, to me, are superstar role players. Dwayne Wade, to a degree, was a role player when LeBron was there. It's just that Dwayne Wade also had history as the alpha, so he could turn it on when he needed to. What makes Dwayne an all-time great superstar player is that he was able to lead his team to a championship. He had a championship run where he led the team.
open the door to the conversation LeBron is better than Michael Jordan.
Right,
So,
they were very upset.
so Scottie was leaving Medeo last night with his beautiful wife, Larsa.
Beautiful, she's
and,
fine.
Yeah, and they were leaving, and our camera guy looked up and said, really, there's been a lot of criticism about your comments. Do you really, truly believe that LeBron James is or could be considered better than Michael Jordan? And that's when Scottie had a huge change to his opinion. This is what he said.
You think LeBron was better than Jordan? Did you really think that?
Oh, man. What?
That's
You
what,
kidding me?
that's what I heard.
Look at Scotty with the hoodie on, looking like E.T.
That was what I heard. Pippen said LeBron was better than Jordan. I couldn't believe it.
LeBron ain't better than me until he gets 6 titles.
Look at Scotty. Scotty looked like he didn't put back about 5 drinks, smoke a couple blunts. He ready to head home.
Oh, what? LeBron's not better than Scottie Pippen.
Somebody need to give his ass a breathalyzer.
Pippen.
So
now.
LeBron went from number 2 to number 3 behind Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
Number 3. Who
But
says
he's
it?
way
He's
down
way
the list.
down there.
If that's the metric, then he's way down the list. But that's so ridiculous,
Shots fired from
Scotty.
Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, Scotty, be quiet though. That's so ridiculous.
Be quiet.
Yeah,
Scotty suffers from that, from that younger sibling syndrome. That's what he suffers from. That's why I say I don't take what Scotty says too seriously. And that's the reason why I made those 2 videos, because I know what perspective Scotty is talking from. He's talking from that perspective of the sibling who feels like he did not get the appropriate amount of attention, or that he's been neglected in some way. And you see that oftentimes on many of these teams. I stated in the past, I think that many of these supplementary superstars, they oftentimes act out by trying to dress in an extravagant way. If you notice, when LeBron was in Miami, that's when D Wade was dressing. That's when he started dressing all crazy. When Kevin Durant started to really blow up in OKC, that's when Westbrook started dressing crazy. Oftentimes, these players that know that they're playing the second banana, they try to get attention different ways. Kobe expressed it by just running Shaq off the team. Scotty still suffers from a lot of the aftermath of being the second banana to Michael Jordan, which is probably the toughest second banana role anybody could play, because Jordan was probably the most glorified athlete of the 20th century, and that's saying a lot.
yeah, be
You
quiet,
tell
Scotty
the
Pippen.
greatest-
Because
you tell-
Scottie Pippen, in no universe is Scottie Pippen better than LeBron James. Under
Yeah,
that
no,
metric there,
no,
you're saying
no,
Robert
no,
Horry.
wait, that's not
Robert
true.
Horry is better than Michael Jordan.
It's not true. There's one universe where Scottie Pippen is better than
Which?
Scottie Pippen's universe.
Right, and
which
it's
is
the only
obviously
one.
the
And it's a
universe that-
crazy universe.
No,
I wonder what all the LeBron James super fans who love to bring up Scottie Pippen's name are going to say about Scotty now that Scotty has come out and stated that he thinks he's better than LeBron. All the LeBron James super fans who say, but Jordan never won anything until Scottie Pippen got there in 87. Even though he only averaged 5 points a game in the playoffs.
no, Scotty's not as good as LeBron James, but here's the
Not
deal.
even.
He was a top 50 NBA player, and he's got the 6 rings, man. LeBron,
All-time great role player. That's what puts him in the top 50. He's right up there with a lot of the other all-time great role players. I've named them numerous times already. Kevin McHale, you could throw Dennis Johnson in there, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman. Of course, Scotty's in there. Horace Grant, he might be on the cusp of being in there. A lot of great role players that the league has seen. Derek Fisher, even though Derek Fisher's not quite in that class of player, but he was a great role player. Manu Ginobili, all-time great role player. So on and so forth. In a few years, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, those guys are going to the Hall of Fame. I get guys who come in my comments and try to give me pushback on that. They are going to go to the Hall of Fame. Chris Bosh. I had some guy trying to argue with me who was trying to promote LeBron being the greatest of all time. LeBron only played with one Hall of Famer. Dude, Kevin Love, Chris Bosh, Kyrie Irving, Dwayne Wade are all going to the Hall of Fame. All of them. Okay? People might not understand that. When you go back and you look at what it takes to go to the Hall of Fame, Chris Bosh is like an 8 or 9 time All-Star. He's going to the Hall of Fame. And he has 2 rings. All right? Dwight Howard is going to the Hall of Fame. Not to digress, but Dwight Howard is going to be a Hall of Famer.
LeBron's still chasing them in rings. It's a fact, man.
LeBron is the best player on the team.
You know why Scottie Pippen is one of the top 50 greatest players of all time?
Why?
Because of that confidence.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, also Michael Jordan, but also the confidence.
Wait, but don't you get past the point where you're confident and you're saying stupid stuff?
Well, a delusional level of confidence is part of being a super athlete. And part of that confidence came from going back and forth with Michael Jordan every day in practice. You know, a lot of these guys don't like it when Jordan gets the credit for his contribution to building up the psychological profile of Scottie Pippen, but Jordan is the one who made Scottie Pippen what he was psychologically and mentally. He toughened them every day in practice, man. And a lot of people who don't know the history of the Chicago Bulls don't understand that. It was to the point where Phil Jackson, who was an assistant coach with the Bulls back in the late 80s, he had to pull Michael Jordan aside and say, look, Michael, you're breaking this kid. You're breaking him mentally. Jordan was going so hard at Pippen and Grant in practice that he was destroying their confidence. And Phil Jackson had to tell him that he needed to spend as much time building them up as he spent tearing them down in practice, because Jordan was obsessed with toughening his teammates to prepare them to face teams like the Boston Celtics and the Detroit Pistons. So all that contributes to and feeds into the delusional level of absurd confidence that a super athlete like a Scottie Pippen has. And all great all-time athletes have an absurd level of confidence.
Aren't we there?
You know what Babcock is mad about, Evan? Scottie Pippen just embarrassed the Knicks.
I know.
You remember that when Scottie Pippen just banged on Patrick Ewing? It just came down there and just
That was Michael Jordan that banged on Patrick Ewing.
Well, yeah, Michael Jordan banged on Patrick, but the Scottie Pippen dunk over Patrick Ewing in the 94 playoffs, that's one of the great dunk overs of all time. That's one of the nastiest dunk overs of all time when Pippen dunked over Ewing.
Scottie banged on Ewing way worse than Jordan did. But it's funny that
I wouldn't say way worse, but that was a vicious dunk over. And so disrespectful. Because at least when Jordan dunked over Ewing, he just dunked on him and then looked at him. Pippen dunked over Ewing and then stood over him and everything. A fight almost started. I remember Spike Lee lost his mind. Like, that shit was crazy.
So we can't even remember which guy.
Yeah, like Van Lathan said, Patrick Ewing been dunked on so much, you can't even remember who dunked on. I mean, you could look up videos of Patrick Ewing getting dunked over. Michael Jordan dunked over him numerous times. Scottie Pippen got him. Charles Barkley, Karl Malone got him. Like, everybody dunked over Patrick. I remember when Penny Hardaway dunked over him. It was crazy. But anyway, hopefully Scottie can move past that pain that Jordan caused him, because he was a phenomenal player in his own right. Peace.